What we want to do now is switch gears slightly. Yesterday you heard Sydney talk a little bit about some of the things that we're doing to controller, and specifically to some of the analytics and improved analytics capabilities. So without further ado, I'm actually going to bring up Jason, and Jason Feldt's going to go deeper on that and provide a demo. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Rob. How's everyone doing today? You ready to get pumped? OK, good. So I'm going to go to the first slide. Who here likes mystery? Sounds fun, right? Who likes mystery in production? I agree. It sounds terrible. So I have another question for you. If an app falls over in the woods and no one's around to hear it, does it make a sound? So if you can't measure something, you can't manage it. So that's really the thinking around the analytics module for controller. It's available now. We just put a quarter in the machine that sells these, so go knock yourself out and get one right now, today. Banish the mystery, level up your character's sight and troubleshooting capabilities, and reduce the time to innocence. As you're trying to troubleshoot and look for problems, this will help you get down to the root cause more quickly than you would be otherwise, especially if you've got a lot of systems. You can do things in a holistic manner once instead of going around to n different things trying to find out what's going on. You can track your custom KPIs for your applications, your environments, and up-level your config via best practice recommendations. So I'm really excited about this. I'm really proud. We're going to do it. If you look at the application platform, it's similar to what you saw before, but you'll now see the analytics module is the base offering. So you get the controller with the analytics module as the base. You can then optionally have ADC on top of it, API management, and service mesh once we have service mesh. And then you're driving Plus with plans for unit in the future. So hopefully that makes sense. What I'd like to spend most of the time on is a demo. And I really want to focus on the 2.7 release that's shipping right now. And also, I'll try and highlight for those of you who saw my talk last year what's new since last year. But we'll start with the analytics module specifically. And this is all live, so let's burn some stage to the demo gods, make sure that my traffic scripts and everything are all running OK here. OK, this looks good. So let's flip over to the demo. So this is the overview page. This is familiar to any of you that you've used controller before. I think it's a great place to start. It shows your application health score and the 5 top metrics we heard from application owners. So you have total requests, HTTP errors, request time, traffic, and CPU use. And you can see that there's different time intervals. The blue is the current interval, and the gray is the previous. So if I've got an hour, this is what's going on this hour, the last hour, 4 hours. Right? So there's different kind of time periods you can pick. And something I think is really exciting is you see the gear here in application health score. By default, it's across your whole environment. But you can do, say, just part of it. You could say, I just want to look over AWS. You can see the graphs change. Or you might say, I only want to look across dev. And again, you can see the graphs change. And this, I should mention just more explicitly, this is the analytics module. So you'll see that the API management and load balancing options are grayed out. And this is, we'll jump from the tagging. So the tagging is very arbitrary. You can pick it the way it makes sense to you. I have a couple of suggestively named tags here, but you can also imagine tagging by application or tagging by team or geography, whatever makes sense to you. So you've got these graphs to begin with. You can jump to more graphs if you'd like to see system-level metrics. You can also see NGINX type metrics, so things like connections, requests, errors, workers. And you can see I have different instances over here on the left. So you can go through instance by instance if you'd like and get some of the top-level things here. What you can also do is jump over to the graph, the dashboards. So I've got a sample one that I've already created for all my things in AWS. But let's just create one together, see how it looks. So let's also just look. There's some guys doing something with the front-end staging. And look, it looks like they're seeing that there's 0 bytes of disk free. So they're out there troubleshooting that. Let's just create a new dashboard. And let's call it Conf demo. And you can start with a new set, a new graph, or a new value. So new set, this is a way of helping you quick start into things that we think are interesting to you. So some people might care about connections requests, key NGINX metrics. Other people might care about performance metrics or HTTP response codes. Other people might care about system metrics. So it's really up to you, tuning this into how it makes sense to you. Let's look at prod. So now we have connections over prod, not too many. Let's make another dashboard. Dev dashboard. Let's look at connections for dev. OK, so we've got a couple of things going on here. Now, this is just a couple of quick starts. You can also create new values or new graphs. Right? So you can go and create, say, this is just a set. You can also say a new graph. Say, I actually want to add 403 errors I picked on before. Let's just pick on those again across. So you have, again, you've got tagging, so you can look at things across different tags, or you can pick particular hosts or instances. So the flexibility is there to do what you'd like. Let's just look at staging. And if you're looking across a set of things, so you can imagine you might have 100 systems you're looking at. When you're doing a graph or you're looking at a value, you then pick an aggregation type. Do I want to sum this, or do I want to average it? So something like an error, you'd probably want to sum. Something like CPU use, or you would do something like an average. Right, so it makes these different graphs. You can drag them around, customize it the way you like. Let's just do a value here also. Let's do SSL failures. How's that looking across staging? Let's do a sum also. You can also get a time value. So you can imagine, say, some of your support engineers might want to say, I want to create a graph and just have the integer values here. I want to see a bunch of zeros. Or other people might say, I want to look at these different graphs. So again, when you look at something like the different time series, you can go and change the period you're looking over as well. So you can go in, this one's over 4 hours, this one's over 1 hour. You can start changing the different time periods again. Up here, you've got the flexibility, or you can just move back and forth in time here. So if you had someone that called in and say, hey, yesterday morning I had an issue, you can then go back, look at the time period, and then really narrow in on what that issue was. So I hope that's of interest to you all. I think the dashboards are really exciting. I've heard a lot of people be really excited about them whenever I'm talking to them. So the next thing I want to transition to, after a dashboard, you might see something that's of interest, and you say, OK, I'd like to set an alert on it. I want to be notified. So we have an alerting system. Again, you can pick different metrics. We're out of disk on one of those systems, so let's just make sure it's above something like a meg. And let's look for everything across production. And send this guy an email. So now you've got two different alerts. Looks like these are almost duplicates. Let's get rid of one. Let's do another one where we say, actually, I should just scroll through here. So we have about 200 metrics that we collect with controller today. So there's a lot of NGINX metrics. You see a lot of different response codes here. We also have the system type metrics. You saw that with the disk. And we have metrics we gather from logs. So it's a really rich set of metrics, and you can pick any one of these. When you're doing, I'll just kind of do a shock and awe through the list here. Whenever you're doing alerts, dashboarding, anything else, you can pick from all these different metrics. So if you're an NGINX user and you're already familiar with some of these, I think this would be really exciting to you. And again, you can pick per system, per tag. Let's pick the dev system here. So this is similar to what you saw in Conf before, but again, I just want to make sure that everybody sees what's in the analytics module specifically, which is all this goodness. And something we added since the last Conf is, if you go to notifications, we talked about this a bit, but we also added ServiceNow integration. So you can see here, you can put in your ServiceNow instance, so point controller to your instance, put in the secrets, your username and password, and then this will start populating the default incident table in ServiceNow with these alerts that you're defining in controller. So I think that's really exciting. That's one step of many integrations. We're looking at Slack, PagerDuty, and others, but this is the first step of many. And again, while I'm in here, I'll also mention that there's different users. There's a built-in RBAC. So there's an admin user that can do everything. There's also a read-only user. So if you see those dashboards and you just want someone to be able to log in to look at dashboards or log in to look at graphs but not change anything, then you can define read-only users, and they can come in and just do that. One last thing I want to bring up, again, is just the analyzer. It's a really great tool. If you guys aren't familiar with this, this is built into the analytics module as well. If I look here at the static analysis, you can see I've got a couple of problems. And this goes through your NGINX configuration and tries to get you lined up with best practices. So we developed NGINX. We know the right way to use it. We've talked to PS, support, engineering. And the analytics module and the control overall will look at your configuration and say, how are you doing? A lot of people, you might be an NGINX expert, but you might have gathered a lot of cruft over the years, or some guy that put something in might have left. Is it still good or not? This is a way to check. Now you can see, non-auto worker processes may lead to performance issues. So now it says, it's not ideal. So I manually set something to 2 instead of auto, just to show you this. My config's a little dirty. It's also missing a default server. It's missing a server name. Right? So it starts telling you what the recommendation is and why. Without a clear definition of the headers, the application behavior may be different from what you expect. Right? So this is really helpful, even if you're an experienced NGINX user, to help you make sure that what you're doing is lined up with the right way. Now, if you're using the config management parts of controller, it does everything by default the right way to begin with. So I'll show you an example here. In production, I created this config earlier with controller, no issues found. So when you do everything with controller, it's defaulting you to best practices, but it also has the analyzer to help you align to best practices if you're doing your config management somewhere else. So that really is what I wanted to cover as the highlights of the analytics module, and hopefully that was all exciting to you guys. So what I'm going to do now is hopefully something very magical and upgrade the license mid-talk here. Magic happened. So now I've got a load balancing and API management license. Right? So you can start with controller, the analytics only module, do everything you like, grow to love it, hopefully, cherish it, and then at some point you said, you know what, I really do want to do configuration management through controller as well. You can just change the license. And now look, these are lit up, so I can now do load balancing things. The alerts I set are still there. The dashboards I set are still there. So you can still go in and reference everything you did before. You can take this URL, copy and paste it to your friends, and tell them, hey, go make sure to check out this dashboard. But then now you're getting all the load balancing and everything else as well, just for the change of license. So you can see here I've got this configuration. This is the view that you saw at Conf last year. This is very much an instance by instance or host by host point of view. One of the big things we did is something that we call config templates. So now if you go to configurations, this is a policy first way of doing things. So instead of doing a instance first or host first, this is really saying, OK, what policy would you like to set? Let's set the policy here together with a couple of examples, and then determine where it gets sent to later. Right? So you set the policy first. Then you pick the broad set of things you want to send it out to, and I'll show you that in a second here. So let's call it front-end dev. Front-end dev team wants to create a new load balancer, so let's help them do that. Save this. Let's do the load balancer wizard. conf.nginx.com. Let's just give it a IP. And give it a couple of pool servers. And pool name, let's call it a front-end pool. And let's match everything. So success. If you guys haven't seen that before, hopefully it's really exciting. So 5 easy steps. Round of applause, thank you very much. OK. 5 easy steps, and I've got a new load balancer. Look how hot that is. It's awesome. So let's go save that. And before I even put it on any of the instances, let's just go take a look at our version history. There's me doing stuff. Let's compare and revert. Oh, look at all this stuff. Oh, you can see I added the new load balancer here in this nice green color. And you can see all the nerd stuff here if you want, or you can ignore the nerd stuff. And you can revert it if you want or keep it. So let's just do a little bit more. Now let's go back to the load balancing configuration. Let's look at our new load balancer. And you see that it's very easy to set up. You saw 5 easy steps. But it's also easy to make changes. So it's easy because we pick a lot of things for you. You NGINX experts out there know we have something like 700 directives. We didn't let you to set 700 directives. But what we did is pick what we thought was right for you, but then it's easy to make changes. So all these elements are clickable. You can go click here and you say, oh, you know, the default around robin, thank you very much, Jason, and your defaults, but least con is actually best for my application. That's cool. No problem. We can save that. Again, you can go over to your version history, take a look. What did we just change? Look at that. We changed it to least con. So again, if you want to keep your eye on the config, you can do that. If you just want to keep your eye on the policy, either way. Something else we added that I thought was exciting is helping you manage your error logs and access logs. So like I said before, a lot of the metrics are gathered via scraping the logs. So this is now use recommended format. Yes, please. And now this gives you the recommended log format with all the columns and everything that controller expects to fill out your metrics very nice and smoothly. And this is all arbitrary. You know, you could add in your own thing if you'd like there. Hit yes. I'm happy. Didn't like that I typed in there. OK, so it helps you manage your logs really easily. And again, you can see there's other things. You know, you want to do custom allow deny rules, SSL certs, error pages. So it's, you know, it's easy to set up, but it's also easy to make these small changes. And now with config templates, it's not only that's all the easiness, but then there's even more easiness layered in and goodness. So now, where do I want to send this policy? I worked really hard, and I made this really nice policy. Now I can send it to particular instances, or I can send it to dev. This says front-end dev. OK, let's just say dev. But you can imagine, you know, sending it wherever you want. Let's just start with dev. So we called it dev. Now, this will say if it's in sync or out of sync. So it's out of sync now because we haven't pushed the change. So that's another thing here is the implementation of the changes on the data plane are asynchronous from you operating on them in controller. So you can set policy how you want, whenever you want, and then push it at the right time for you. And we're looking at adding scheduling later, but you can imagine where you're doing your policy changes, and then you're not actually implementing them until you want to. So this is out of sync. If I pushed it, it would then say in sync. And it does a checksum locally and a checksum on controller. And if anybody goes in and SSHs to the system and makes a change, it'll alert you. Right? So this is a good way of setting compliance. So let's just go, to even make this a little more concrete, let's just call this last version gold version, because gold is best. And there we go. So let's try and push this to all instances. Might break because we got a demo going here. So now, you know, once this goes to the instance, OK, it didn't like me. This is the gold version. Now, if you go and make another change and say, what else do we want to change here? Let's just change this back to round robin. Change my mind. Save it. Now, if you go back here and look at, OK, what happened between my gold version and my compare and revert? Oh, somebody got rid of, they changed that. They changed that. I don't like that. I want to go back. I want the gold version. Gold is the best version. Right? So you can imagine where you could start labeling these in a way that say fit, or you could even say, you know, dev team v1 config, you know, whatever you like. So this is a way to help you get compliance, make sure that you're lining up with the config you expect. And then when you push it to multiple instances here, you'll make sure that it's in line with what you expect. And let's just use another example here. So let's say I have this really tuned in a way that I like. You can also say copy it and save as. And let's even call it front-end staging. Right, so you have something in dev you like a lot. It looks really good. Cool. Now I've got it in staging. And you can keep it as is or make changes. You're starting with a fresh version history. You might want to keep things differently in staging than not. And again, then you just pick your instances. Let's just pick everything in staging. And now I've got my staging config going to staging. And again, you can imagine same kind of thing here. Let's just do a, you know, just to finish up here. Again, now I've got another copy in prod. And let's just pick, who do I want to send this to? I want to send this to prod. Now you see in prod I had 2 instances, so it automatically expanded that out. And if you had more, just keep on expanding it so you can have a list of instances here and operate on a tag-by-tag basis. So if your tag is dev staging prod, or if your tag is Azure, AWS, or my claims app, my billing app, whatever you like there, that's how it lines up. And if I go back to the graphs, the tags are just arbitrary. I'll just show you. Sorry, so is the, get out of here. It doesn't like me. Let's go over here. Let's do it again. So I just wanted to show you that the tags really quickly. It's basically an arbitrary tagging where I can call it dev, but you can come up with anything you want here. You can call it, we work in any IaaS. You call it Azure. You call it, North America. Right? You can call it, whatever works for you. You can just add these tags, and then again, so you go into a dashboard. I want a new set of response codes for, North America, for example. So this gives you a lot of flexibility to really try and align it with the way that you do business. No errors. Great. OK. So I think I covered everything here. Hopefully this was interesting. So again, we had the analytics module, which was a subset of everything. And then I showed you how you can easily expand that and just go straight into the config management, which does everything else. We've got the instance-based approach still, if you like that. You can still do everything here and preview it. So you've got, you can look at the conf here. You can copy and paste it to support if you'd like. Now, if you're already a long-time NGINX existing customer, you might have a config that you really love. And again, you can manage that outside of controller if you do decide to bring it in controller. So I've got this config I did somewhere else on app 1. You can see there's kind of these unformed things here. It says this instance is not yet linked to any modules. So when you start with the instance, there's basically a pool of NGINX things you can do things with. And I, as a load balancing user, could grab it for the load balancing use case. Or I, as an API management user, could grab it for an API management use case. Whatever grabs it first gets to use that NGINX. So let's just say new load balancing configuration. Now you can see inherited config from app 1. So what you can do is either start fresh like I did earlier in these templates, or you can inherit whatever you already have, make a template from that, and then get all that goodness with change control and sending out to many instances of the configuration that you like. Now, we can't parse all that. We can only parse certain things, but we can inherit it in and do best we can as far as parsing out the load balancing use cases. So let's just save that. Now you can see we've got this config that I inherited with all these problems in the analyzer. And again, you can send it out to whoever you'd like. Right now, it's going to app 1. We can even add partway through. Let's add a billing app. Oh, it's already being used by somebody else. That's right. So there's a lot of flexibility here. It's really aimed at tuning into how you work best. And again, we've got different notifications. We have a inventory type view. If you're an operations person, you might like just to see what do I have at a high level, what are the operating systems, what's the plus version, some key metrics, where it's living. These are all VMs, so it says VMware. But this is just another approach to taking a look at that. So that's a high level of the demo. This is shipping now. There's a lot of things we want to add to it as well. But I really wanted to demo to you what we've got today. And you can go trial this for free and buy it right now. And this is out there. So let's flip back to the slides, please. So again, it's available now. Banish the mystery, level up your character's sight and troubleshooting stats. Be the first one on your block with the analytics module. So if you guys agree, if you bring the controller, they'll bring the jelly. Thanks.